Hello, listeners of this podcast. Our editor, Isabella, and Maddie and I think it's necessary to put a trigger warning before this video starts.
This episode contains talk of rape and body dysmorphia.
I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Yeah.
Bye.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Zon't.
Zon't do it. Yeah, zon't do it.
Zon't.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the Zon't podcast. And by many of you knowing and us hinting, we are going to do a spooky episode where we are going to read some scary stories, scary murderers specifically that I found online on a website. And I'm pretty sure they are true because I know that one of them are. We're just gonna get right into it. We're each gonna read one. We're just gonna go back and forth. Because many of you suggested that we just read stories. But also if we somehow connect to it, we're just gonna pause reading and kind of say how we connect to it. So yeah, let's get started. This first one is called The Boy in a Box. I don't really know what it's gonna be about.
Sounds like a boy in a box.
It sounds like someone kidnapped a boy, put him in a box, and maybe buried him or something.
Reminds me of you. No. No, do you know that show?
No.
Oh.
You like on Netflix? You? Oh, you know what it reminds me of?
What?
Megan is Missing.
I watched that.
That traumatized me, like really badly.
Okay, you I don't care if you keep this
I
in or
had
not,
trauma.
but it's spoilers. When she was in the barrel and like
Speak into the mic.
when she was in the barrel and he like opened it up
That freaked me out.
and she was staring dead in the camera, I cried.
That image is like stuck in my head, and people were posting on TikTok. I was on Megan is Missing TikTok for like a week, and it was not okay.
I'd cry.
I cried.
I watched it on FaceTime.
Okay, I watched it with Lauren and Anna in real life, and we just were like, we were hanging out because we planned to hang out, and I was like, guys, we should watch Megan is Missing, like it's all over TikTok, and
No, because you're actually kidding.
Cry.
No, because you're actually kidding right now.
I'm gonna cry.
No, because that was a joke, right?
Dad, is that
Rob!
you? I'm gonna cry.
What was that? Was that the cat? Because the cat got let out. Maybe it was pushing open your door.
I don't know. I'm scared.
Did the mics pick that up?
I hope so. But anyway, me and Anna and Lauren were watching it, and like the first hour was just like, oh my god, it was just like so much to me. And then when it was the last 30 minutes, I was just like, guys, I can't watch this. And they're like, okay, so I went in the other room, and all I heard was just screaming from them. And then I was just like terrified. They explained it to me, but like I was just so glad. And then later I watched it by myself, and oh my gosh, I was like, okay.
It's terrible.
It was, oh my god. And just that build up.
No, because you're kidding. Sorry.
But that build up just makes me paranoid. Like I watch my back all the time now because like when she was in the woods and that figure was behind her. Maddie, stop.
No.
Maddie, stop. Maddie, stop.
I'm seeing.
It's probably my dad.
Robbie.
Rob, you have to stop.
My best friend, Rob. Please.
Rob, you're actually scaring us. I'm so scared. Okay, anyway, let's just read.
Yeah.
This is getting out of hand. Okay. And I hate that these are true. Like, this is so fucking scary. Okay.
Oh, no.
In February 1957, a college student stumbled upon the remains of a young boy in the woods of Is it open?
Hello? Rob.
He's purposely not answering us.
Oh my god. What if he's
Okay.
dead in there? What if
Don't
someone...
say that.
Rob.
Okay. Okay. This is so scary. Stumbled upon the remains of a young boy in the woods of Philadelphia and reported his gruesome discovery to the police. The boy was found badly beaten and laid to rest inside an old bassinet box. His identity was unknown.
Yeah.
Several people came forward with information relating to this case. No, this is actually scary. But the police were not able to verify anyone's testimony. One woman, Martha, claimed that her abusive mother bought the boy. I can't. This needs to, like, stop.
Is that one movie?
What?
The Boy?
I don't know.
Why is it making that sound?
Okay, anyway. One woman, Martha, claimed that her abusive mother bought the boy. Under their roof, he was subjected to physical and sexual abuse. What made the police take interest in Martha's story was her knowledge of details that had not been released to the public. She claimed that shortly before the boy was beaten to death, he ate baked beans, which corroborated to the autopsy. You know what an autopsy is?
Yes.
That is so... No.
What is corroborated?
I don't know. Maybe, like, connected?
Found in the autopsy.
I don't know. She also claimed that he was bathed before his death, which matched the coroner's finding of water-pruned fingers. Though Martha's testimony seemed to match the evidence, her substantial history of mental illness made her an unreliable witness. She has a mental illness because of her goddamn abusive mother. Oh my god. Another lead came from a psychic who accurately described a foster home near where the boy had been found without ever seeing it. This is so scary. I'm just scared of that hallway.
I'm not really, like, processing what you're saying.
I am. Remington Bristow, an employee at the examiner's office, followed the psychic's directions to the foster house. Inside, he discovered a bassinet matching the description of the bassinet box the boy was found in. He also found blankets similar to the one that wrapped around the boy's body. Because there was no real incriminating evidence against the foster parents, Bristow's findings were dismissed as well. I can't have my feet. I can't my feet. No, hanging. Okay. 62 years later. Don't do that. That scared me. 62 years later. Wait. What's 57 plus 62?
No.
No, because what if that's like present? Hey Siri. What is 57 plus 62?
57 plus 62 is 119.
2019. That was 2 years ago. This next part happened in 2019. The case of the boy in the box was gone cold, which means no one knows about it.
Yep.
Facial reconstruction technology has provided mock images of what the boy might have looked like alive, but no one has ever come forward to claim him. DNA and dental testing have also been attempted, with no success thus far. The identity of the boy in the box remains unknown to this day. And there were images on this website, but I just never looked at them. So, no, this is scary. Did you get that at all?
I get that he was found in a box and never identified.
Yeah, so I don't know if
How was he killed?
the remains, so they don't know. People are saying it's from an abusive mother or it's from a foster home.
Eek.
But I don't know if because it said a college student stumbled upon his remains. I don't know if the remains were all cut up or whatever, or if it was a full-on body in the box. Like, it's just scary. So Maddie's gonna find the one she wants to read.
The Tylenol one.
Okay, so what's it called?
The Chicago Tylenol murders.
Okay, what do you think this one's gonna be about before you read it? I think it's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna be like drug overdose. Probably drug overdose, but I don't know. We'll see. Go ahead, read it. Make sure your lips are on the mic.
Hold on, I need to. I don't like reading because I feel like I have to get through it really fast.
Okay, just put your lips on the mic and read.
Hey guys. In September of 1982, a 12-year-old girl in Chicago passed away shortly after ingesting an extra strength of Tylenol. That same day, a man died in the hospital after taking the same pill. 2 of his family members followed. Over the course of the next few days, more seemingly healthy people in Chicago dropped dead, and the only thing they had in common was taking extra strength Tylenol shortly before their untimely death. As bottles were recalled by Johnson & Johnson, it was discovered that many of the extra-strength Tylenol pills had been laced with potassium cyanide. That's like poison. Once this was made public, Johnson & Johnson issued numerous ads and warnings to customers to avoid the product. The company began working fervently on a triple-sealed package that would prevent tampering. James William Lewis of New York City contacted Johnson & Johnson, claiming that he was responsible for tampering with the bottles and filling the capsules with cyanide. He demanded $1 million in exchange for him to stop. He was arrested for the crime, and although he wasn't found guilty, he was still imprisoned for extortion. Even after Johnson & Johnson fortified their Tylenol bottles against tampering, the widespread news of what had happened in Chicago prompted crimes of a similar nature all around the country. Several more people died from cyanide poison found in other over-the-counter medications. The Chicago Tylenol murders is one of the few true crime stories to spark real change in the country. The quality control of pharmaceuticals increased tenfold, as did the security of their packaging. Although the FBI didn't have enough evidence to convict anyone of the crime, it is widely believed that James William Lewis and his family and his wife were indeed responsible.
The only thing I got from that was someone died from overdose on Tylenol, and then like multiple people died on that same day in Chicago. And then like Johnson Johnson was just like, "Oh my god." That's all I got.
Don't use my product.
Yeah.
Lol.
Um.
Yeah, that was kind of a bad reading.
That was a very bad one. Sorry. That was kind of interesting because I'm going to Chicago in literally like T-minus 13 days.
Sheesh!
So I am not going to take Tylenol when I go to Chicago at all. So yeah. Okay, so the Unicorn Killer. This one's a little short one. What do you think this one's going to be about? I think that it's going to be someone killing people, and then they like put a full-on like horn in their head. And then their bodies are just found with a horn in their head.
Or they like leave a something rainbow. I don't know.
We'll see. Okay. The Unicorn Killer. As an adolescent, Ira Einhorn gave himself the nickname of the Unicorn, the English translation of his German surname. The killer was an environmental activist and part of the anti-war movement when he murdered his ex-girlfriend, Holly Maddox. Maddox disappeared in early September of 1977 after stopping by Einhorn's Philadelphia apartment to collect her things following their breakup. Several weeks after Maddox's death, police questioned her ex-boyfriend about her whereabouts, to which he stated she had disappeared on her way to the neighborhood co-op. 18 months later, after neighbors began reporting the rancid smell, police found Maddox's body stuffed in a trunk in Einhorn's closet. Several days before Einhorn was supposed to stand trial, he fled to Europe. Oh my god.
So we still there?
Wait. I know something. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. As Einhorn had already been arra- arraigned, the court was able to try, convict, and sentence him to absentia. And despite this fact, Einhorn managed to remain in France for 23 years, even getting married while craftily evading extradition. The U.S. government was finally able to bring him. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. I'm sorry. I just know it. Sorry. Bring him back to the states and reconvict him to 2002. Einhorn is now serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. So, do you know the one TikTok sound that goes, she couldn't have been that crazy. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't think so, hun. So, that is a film from a film called Possibly in Michigan. Oh my God, this is so scary to me. I don't know why, but I know the backstory behind that film. The director of that film and writer, um, I forgot her name, but she she lived in Milwaukee and she was a professor in Milwaukee. So the Unicorn Killer, this was based in Milwaukee, which is also very close to Chicago. Um, she she had a film before, possibly in Michigan, and it's pretty much telling her about her boyfriend and how it was the Unicorn Killer. And her name is Cecilia Condit, and it was her pretty much scrambling and telling the story about how she was boyfriends with this killer, and the whole time that she dated him, there was a body in his closet in a trunk. Coincidentally, the Unicorn Killer, the one we're reading about right now. And pretty much, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I don't know why it's hitting close to me, but it's just crazy how it's all piecing together to me. But um yeah, and then when she broke up with him, he was on trial or whatever, but she broke up with him, and then he went to a foreign country. She didn't know which foreign country though, and that's exactly what I read. And Possibly Michigan is kind of like a spin-off to her film that she was scrambling to herself, talking about the Unicorn Killer, and how she dated him. And in that first film, she talked about how she had this dream that it was her, and Possibly in Michigan is that dream. And have you seen the film Possibly in Michigan? We should watch it. It's only like 11 minutes or something. And it's kind of disturbing, to be honest, Possibly in Michigan. It's a little, you could find it disturbing. I find it disturbing, or you can just find it weird. It's very, it's very just weird.
Mm.
And oh my gosh, just reading that. I don't know why I almost started crying. That's just really scary.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Next story. Maddie's gonna find. Um, I know this is scary that these are all real. Oh my gosh. I honestly didn't trust the website I got.
This segment is brought to you by Anchor.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let us explain.
It's free.
There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
The girl in the box.
Okay.
20-year-old Colleen Stan was on her way to a friend's birthday in Northern California when her soon-to-be captor Cameron Hooker and wife Janice picked up the hitchhiker. Stan would spend much of the next 7 years trapped in a box that let in no light, sound, or fresh air. Convinced by the hookers that a mysterious and dangerous organization would kill her and her family if she didn't comply. Under an agreement between Janice and Cameron, and eventually through a forcibly signed contract with Stan, the young woman was to be a sex slave for Cameron, though no penetration initially occurred. When Stan was let out of her box, where she spent up to 23 hours a day eating cold food scraps, and using a bedpan. She was tortured and raped using various objects. Several years into captivity, a brainwashed Stan was allowed to visit her family once and even get a job. But when Cameron said he wanted Stan to be a second wife, the entire horrifying situation fell apart. Stan eventually got on a bus and fled to her family, while Janice turned her husband in, receiving immunity for full cooperation. Sheesh!
Oh my gosh. So that one wasn't like, oh, we found this boy in a box. This one was like continuous.
Yeah.
What?
7 years.
That's so, no, that's scary. Like being trapped in a box for 23 hours and then let out to be raped and hit and beaten
Yeah.
and then put back in that box. And they just fed her scraps so she could stay alive.
Yeah.
Oh, ooh, that weirds me out. Okay, so at first I thought, at first when it said hitchhiker, I listened to this. Sorry for promoting so many podcasts, but I listened to this podcast where it's called My Favorite Murder. It's one of my favorite podcasts, and they talk about true crime stories that happen to people that send in their stories to them, and they just read it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the stories was about how their mom or like their sister or something would hitchhike to clubs or whatever, and one time she was with her sister that at a club, and they missed their bus home, so they just had a hitchhike or whatever, and coincidentally that couple that was there that normally takes her picked her up and brought her home, and the girl, she typed that the couple was very like they stood up straight the whole ride. They had blank faces the whole time, but they would still talk to them, and it was just them in the back or whatever. And her sister would always ride with them, and it turns out that that couple is a famous serial killer couple that would kill their hitchhikers, um, and stuff them in their truck. And yeah, they never did that to her sister. But when her sister like they know her sister's address. They know where she goes on Friday nights to the club, and it's just like really scary.
Yeah.
Like that like that's why I don't want to hitchhike. Like that's so scary.
Yeah, don't hitchhike.
Moral of the story: don't hitchhike, you guys. You'll either get trapped in a box or you will die.
Get drugged.
Yeah, it's the eyeball killer. This Texas murderer and diagnosed psychopath killed at least one woman, with two more suspected murders to his name. Adopted from an orphanage, Charles Albright was cared for by his very protective adoptive parents. His mother was a school teacher and helped accelerate his learning his mother was a school teacher and helped accelerate his learning so far that he entered college in his teens. Imagine being a nerd.
Well.
Despite being so bright, he was also known for partaking in criminal behavior. Arrested first for aggravated assault at the age of 13. His murderous roots, however, lied in a childhood interest. After Albright received a shotgun at a young age, he used it to kill small animals, as he would then stuff them with the help of his mother, appeasing his interest in taxidermy. Okay.
Okay then.
After failing to complete pre-med training at both North Texas University and Arkansas State Teachers College, he would be sent to jail for theft, molestation, which is rape, and eventually the murder of a sex worker, although police suspected him of at least 3 more slayings. His victims' bodies were left nearly or completely nude on the city street. They had been shot in the head, and their eyes had been removed with surgical like precisions.
No, thank you.
But imagine like waking up and all of a sudden you look out your window and the street in front of you, there's just a naked body that's dead.
The Girl Scout murders. In the summer of 1977, 3 young Girl Scouts staying on an Oklahoma campsite were raped and murdered. The girls, Lori, Michelle, and Doris, were between the ages of 8 and 10. About 2 months before the murders, a camp counselor found a disturbing note in her belongings. The culprit promised to murder 3 children at the camp, knowing that young campers enjoy telling scary stories around the campfire. The camp counselor dismissed the threatening note as nothing more than a prank, a decision she would come to regret. Early in the morning of June 13th, the girls' bodies were found in their sleeping bags out on the trail leading to the camp showers. The only evidence that their killer left behind was a red flashlight with a bloody footprint. The prime suspect in the Oklahoma Girl Scout murders was Jen Leroy Hart, an escaped convict. Hart had been raised about a mile from Camp Scott, and at the time of the murders, he was at large after escaping from prison, where he had been seen serving time for burglary, kidnapping, and rape. A local jury acquitted Hart of the crime, citing a lack of evidence. However, Oklahoma police consider the case solved. To this day, no one knows if Jean Leroy Hart got away with the murder or if the true killer was somebody else entirely. Either way, the girls' killer never saw justice.
So they couldn't find the murderer?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, if you get a threatening note, no matter what, you're gonna want to take it to the police
Yeah.
and evacuate everyone immediately. Like,
Exactly.
you don't dismiss a note like that. Like, if I got a note like that, I wouldn't think it was a prank. I would cry.
Yeah.
And hide in my room.
What if it's staged and the camp girl did it?
Oh my gosh. Plot twist.
What?
I'm gonna do the Granny Killer.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. Okay. Anyway.
Very cool.
The Granny Killer. An English-born Australian serial killer, John Wayne Glover, was known for preying on elderly women, including the widow of artist Will Ashton.
Speak louder.
Oh, sorry. That's how yours was like the whole time.
Yeah.
Get into it.
Do you want me to talk like this? Because I can talk like this,
No,
bro.
because then, like, our listeners will have to turn up the volume and then turn it back down.
That was really fun. My ADHD really liked that.
Okay, let's actually do this.
Sorry.
Okay. The Granny Killer. An English-born Australian serial killer, John Wayne Glover, was known for preying on elderly women, including the widow of artist Will Ashton. Over the span of 14 months, between 1989 and 1990, Glover murdered 6 elderly women after brutally attacking them. At times, he used simply his fists to attack his victims. With others, he used objects like hammers, his victims' pantyhose, and other instruments. Many of his victims were simply women he saw walking past him on the street, with whom he struck up casual conversation. In addition to attacking the murdering those 6 women, Glover was also accused of molesting and sexually assaulting several other elderly women. I know, gross.
Yeah.
At his trial, a psychologist noted that while Glover was sane, he had severe personality disorder, which may or may not have been connected to his turbulent relationships with his mother and mother-in-law. After being found guilty and sentenced to prison, Glover killed himself in 2005. Days before he died, he handed his last visitor a picture he had drawn featuring 2 trees and the number 9. Supposedly, 9 is the true number of murders Glover was responsible for, not merely the 6 for which he was convicted.
2 trees and a 9?
What do the true trees mean?
Maybe he buried them there?
Yeah, maybe he, like, buried them in, like, woods or something. Like, ew, gross. This is scary.
The New Orleans Axeman.
I just want to say, before she reads this the New Orleans Axeman was featured in American Horror Story Coven. They based off one of the characters off of him called the Axeman. So yeah, I kind of know a little bit about him. So go
Thank you.
ahead.
This American serial killer was active in the greater New Orleans area between 1918 and 1919. The majority of the murderer's victims were from the Italian immigrant community and were killed with an axe that belonged to them. The killer would access his victims' homes by removing a panel on their back door, then enter and murder them with either a straight razor or an axe. The brutal serial killer attacked at least 12 people total, most of whom were women. In March 1919, the unidentified killer sent a deranged letter from hell, where he described himself as invisible, even as the ether, invisible even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. In the letter, the Axeman stated the date and time of his next planned murder and suggested that the only way to stop him was to play jazz music. In response, the entire sitting filled its buildings and streets with the music sound that night, and no one was murdered. The axe murderer would strike 3 more times before his activity eventually ceased. Today, the story of the Axeman has been repopularized thanks to a similar character in the American Horror Story Coven.
I didn't know about the demon though. That is pretty freaky, like very freaky. You that note. I knew that he liked jazz music. I knew. Here's what I thought. I thought he went to like a jazz band and then he was like, "Let me go murder someone." I didn't know he like told everyone to play jazz music. Yeah, I didn't know that. But I'm pretty sure in American Horror Story Coven, they because it was in like 2000 the time like the setting time zone. Oh my god. The setting time zone was in like 2011, 2012. And I'm pretty sure the Axeman character came back from the dead. I honestly don't know. But okay, the Icebox Murders. I think is this the last one?
No, there's one more.
There's 2 more. The Icebox Murders. In 1965, Fred and Edwina Rogers were living in Houston along their grown son, Charles. The family mostly kept to themselves in their quiet neighborhood, especially given Charles' reclusive and antisocial behavior. In fact, many neighbors were not even aware that Charles lived at home with his parents because he left the house each day before dawn and didn't return until after nightfall. Ooh. When a family member hadn't heard from the Rogers in several days, he called the Houston police for a welfare check on his elderly aunt and uncle. Wait, I'm confused already.
I don't know who called.
The patrolmen were unable to locate Fred and Edwina, but they noticed food sitting on the dining room table. They opened the fridge and noticed numerous packages of meat neatly stacked atop one another. Then they noticed 2 human heads in a vegetable bin.
No, because I don't rock with that.
Hello? Dad? No, because that was the door handle twisting. Dad?
This happened 1,
2,
2, 3.
too
many
times.
I forgot it. Too many times, too much.
No.
No, that's not wrong.
We don't.
That's-
We need to burn these papers when we're done.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Literally, stop. You're. Rob!
Then they noticed 2 human heads in the vegetable bin. Additional officers arrived on the stomach-turning scene and slowly removed the packages full of dismembered body parts from the fridge. The remains were that of Fred and Edwina Rogers. The police deduced that that Edwina had been brutally beaten and shot, while Fred suffered forceful trauma in the head. His eyes had been gouged out and his genitalia removed.
By his son. Ew.
Genitalia, is that your ball?
That's your groin.
Ooh. Okay.
So everything. No.
The couple's innards had been flushed down the toilet. Charles was nowhere to be found. Naturally, Charles was the prime suspect in the heinous crime. However, he seemed to have vanished off the face of the earth, though the police were not able to collect circumstantial pieces of evidence against him. Charles Rogers were never found. When was this? I need to know when this was. Okay, 1965.
He probably did.
He's either dead or like a really old man. I bet he killed himself.
Probably.
Oh, this is not okay. This isn't. No.
Did you know you passed like 7 psychopaths in your life?
Don't say that.
Like in public.
Don't say that. No. Don't say that. No, no. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. Me.
Uh,
Is this the last
Should
one?
we? Yeah, let's just make this the last one.
Dorothy Jane Scott. Early in 1980, Dorothy Jane Scott began receiving threatening phone calls at work. She was the single mother of a toddler who didn't think much of the calls at first, until one night when the sinister voice over the phone told her to look outside.
No, no, because I don't do this. I don't do this.
A single dead rose was lying on the windshield of her car. The stalker who had gotten a hold of her number would oscillate between professing his love for her and threatening bodily harm. Dorothy mentioned to several family members and friends that the voice over the phone sounded familiar, but she couldn't quite place who he was. She never got a chance to find out. One night at a staff meeting, Dorothy noticed one of her co-workers looked ill. She and another colleague drove the man to a nearby hospital. The doctor said he had a nasty spider bite and needed prescription. While the 2 co-workers were waiting for this prescription to be filled, Dorothy went out to the parking lot to get her car.
Nope, because you don't do that. You don't do that.
It was the last time she was seen alive. Her co-workers testified that after she did not return, they went out to meet her in the parking lot. At that moment, they saw her car speeding away, so they assumed there was an emergency with her son. Dorothy never returned home to her son, nor did anyone hear from her again. 4 years later, her charred bones were found at a construction site. Adding another layer of mystery to the case is the fact that a set of dog bones was found right next to her remains. Though people on the internet are still discussing the case today, no one was ever convicted or held in suspicion, and the mysterious caller was never found. Can't they check the caller ID?
Wait a second. 1980. And they're still talking about it today.
They probably aren't dead either.
No. I don't like these recent ones.
When it said when they said
No,
the guy
because-
told
no,
him to look
because-
out the window.
No,
because there's a big
No.
big window right there.
I don't want to. But I'm gonna cry. Okay, we're gonna just end the episode.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We have a Instagram out. It'll be linked in the description. We also have this new Anchor support linked in the description. I explain in the next episode how to use it, so just be ready for that. And our email will also be linked in the description. Thank you to one of you guys emailing us for that request, so it's easier to find. Otherwise, it is zonetzuitpodcast@gmail.com. Please suggest more ideas to us. We already have many from you guys, but please keep sending more so we can have more ideas. One other thing you guys have been asking to be on the show, well, that is the reason for Anchor support, is you guys can donate to us monthly, and if we get enough money raised, we will be able to, oh my gosh, we will be we will be able to buy 2 more mics, one for a new co-host that we would like, and just a special guest to have every episode. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we won't do this again because it's terrifying.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Can I get a ride home?